Okay, so we're going to start refactoring, and I think I mentioned in the last video we're going to work off of this cool book here by Martin Fowler called Refactoring: Improving the Design of Existing Code. So we're going to start with an example of his, and if you want to download that example, let's see. So I'm setting up all these video lectures. If you go to the 3D animation in Java page and look at well, to get to this page, if you just go to tjleone.com, just to make sure you know how to do this, if you go to tjleone.com and then scroll down to where it says 3D animation in Java, you'll get to this course page, and then if you go under video lectures, you should be able to find lessons on refactoring. So let's see. So yeah, so one of the first things in here is actually, I think I'm just going to refresh this because I think oh, maybe not. Okay, well, I might not have all this text up here when you go to it. But anyway, the first step is to download movie.zip. Okay, because that's the project that we're going to refactor. And again, like I said, this is an example taken out of the book so that you can get a feel for how refactoring works. So I'm going to go to the Finder. This is what I've downloaded, and I have all my NetBeans. When you install NetBeans, you'll find you'll have it'll ask you to assign a folder for all your NetBeans projects. So I'm going to stick my movie.zip file in there and unpack it. Okay, and so now when I go into NetBeans, I can go in and say open project, and the movie project is in there. You won't see all those that I have listed because I have a bunch of other ones in there, but you should see at least the movie project. And so we can open that up and take a look at what's in there. So this movie project is basically it's a system for inputting what movies people have rented. So we have these different objects. We have a movie object, which the movie could be a children's movie, a regular movie, or a new release, and you can set the title and the price code. So these are the price codes. It's either children's, regular, or new release, and you can set the title, set the price code, and you can get the price code or the title. So not really complicated object there. Then there's the rental object, which basically the constructor takes a movie and some number of days rented and stores that information. Okay. Then there's the customer object, which uses actually vector is kind of going out of style. It's an obsolete collection according to this. So you might be better to do a list object or something like that, just because this is going away, and we might do that at some point. But for now, let's just see what we have here. We have a customer. So a customer. So remember, a rental is for a particular movie for a particular number of days, right? A customer can rent multiple movies, so he can do multiple rentals. So that's why this vector, like I said, this is kind of an old-fashioned way of doing collections. So you can just add rentals that way. This get rental method is not in the original in the book. I just stuck that in so that when we do testing in a little bit, we'll be able to get at particular rentals in the collection of rentals. Then there's this thing get name, and then there's this more complicated method here, statement, for figuring out, for basically for generating statements about the amount owed and so on. So this is really kind of the messy part right here, and this is where we're going to have to do some refactoring, because this is a bunch of junk. And like I said, you're going to see methods this messy in the Killer Game Programming book. So this is a good exercise for cleaning this code up a little bit so that you can so that it's more understandable to you and to other programmers, and so that you can make changes to it more safely without as much risk for introducing defects into the code, which is what you really don't want to do. So okay, so the first step before we do any refactoring, so like I said, refactoring is testing, and then setting up reliable tests, and also making changes to the code. So the first step before we touch the code is to put together some tests, okay? And basically we do this so that as we make changes, we can continually run the tests and make sure that we haven't broken anything as we've been cleaning up the code, okay? So the tool that we have for developing tests is called JUnit, and there's actually, if you want to learn more about it, there's a website, junit.org, and so you can read all about it. But NetBeans has the JUnit support built into it, so you don't need to download anything or install. I don't think you should have to do that. So let's see. So the way that you create tests then is, let's say we're going to, so again, this stuff is not all that hairy, so I'm not gonna, you could actually develop tests for those if you wanted to, but the part that I'm really interested in and working on right now is the customer class. So I'm gonna create some tests for that. So what you can do is go into, I did a control click on the Mac, or I guess a right click on a PC, go down into tools, and oh my goodness, the selection is kind of off the screen here, but there's a selection. So we got apply diff patch, diff2, add favorite, show and finder, analyze JavaDoc, which you can't see, it's off the screen. There's another one that says create JUnit tests, and that's the one I'm picking. So let's see. So let's see what happens when you do that. Okay, so then a dialog pops up and it says, what JUnit version do you want? And I'm going to pick JUnit 4. So that's just the version of JUnit that we're going to use. I'll just leave everything in there just so you can see what it looks like. So when I do that, I get this test packages thing here, and you see customer tests is what pops up over here. So what this does is it gives you the it adds in a bunch of tests to test all the different methods in your class. Okay. Now you see these are set up initially with this fail thing here. And actually, if you want more details on NetBeans and JUnit, you can probably just Google NetBeans JUnit. And it'll yeah, writing JUnit tests in NetBeans. And that'll give you a bunch more detail on it gives you a sample project and steps you through a bunch of JUnit stuff. So I'm just going to go a little bit quickly through this, so you can, if you want more detail on it, you can look through this page, and if there's stuff that still isn't clear, you can shoot me an email. But basically, this fail method just forces the test to fail. So you want to run a series of tests, and they're either going to pass or fail. So what you can do, so for example, on this customer test.java, I'm going to go into run and pick test file. And it's running. It says none of the tests passed. Okay, which is what we would expect, because for every single test at the end it says fail. Okay. So, basically, why does it do that? Well, because these are just placeholders. So these are we're going to fill these in and make them reasonable tests. But for right now, they're forced to fail, just so we're reminded that, yeah, you need to do something about this. And notice there's this system.out.println for each method, and that's what you see printed out over here. Okay, so all your sys.out stuff is going to come out over here, and these are the test results. Okay, so let's set this up a little bit. I'm going to stick in, and I'm going to do some cutting and pasting just to save some time, because I've already done some of this stuff. But you can always pause the video if you want to copy some of this. And I suggest you follow along and go ahead and add this stuff in so you have the experience of working through these tests. So I'm putting in a bunch of movies and rentals and customers, because I'm going to test those out later on. Right. So notice these are fields. So I have a customer test class, and I'm creating these fields in the customer test class. Okay. Now I have, they add in a bunch of these different methods. Some of them I'm not going to get into right now. There's the setup class, teardown class, and setup and teardown. For now, I'm just going to add stuff to the setup class, because I want to set up my my fields. Okay, so let's see. So for the customers, I'm going to initialize those, and so in the customer class, the constructor just needs the name of the customer. Okay, so I'm just supplying some customer names. Then I'm going to add in a movie and a rental. Okay, and just again as a reminder, so the movie is taking, the constructor needs the name of a movie and what kind of, let's see, what do they call that? What kind of price code it has. So the name of the movie and the price code is what I'm giving to each movie. And then the rental gets as input a movie and That's the other thing. And the number of days rented. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to do a bunch of those. I'll just add in some more. And the reason I have so many of these added in is because I want to test out different possibilities. So if we look back in customer, if we look at this statement, you see in this switch statement here, we have, depending on the price code could be regular, new release, or children's. Depending on the price code, we do different things. And in each cases, in the case of regular and children's, there are actually conditions that could be true or false. So for a regular movie, we might have the customer might have rented it for more or less than 2 days, and for a children's movie, it might have been rented for more than 3 days or 3 days or less, right? So we want to test all of those conditions. So let's see. So I've added all of those different so I created, 5 different movies, 5 different rentals. Then I'm going to just pick one of the customers and add all those rentals to that customer. Okay. And again, this is all in this setup method. So this setup method gets run before any of the actual test kind of methods. Okay. So before we run any of these tests, we've created all these fields and we've loaded up all the fields with all these different values. Okay. And again, you can always pause the video and add in all of these guys. So we have the customers and all the different movies and rentals, and then we have the I just had customer 1 and just added all 5 rentals to customer 1. Okay, so now down to the and again, this is I kind of went back and forth as I was testing. I figured out what I wanted to do in the setup. So what I'm showing you is not the exact order that I developed things in, but you'll just to give you a feel of how these things work, and you'll as you get practice, you'll see how you'll get a better and better idea of how to put these things together. But anyway, so then there's this test add rental. Okay, so and the way these work is for each of the methods, except for the constructor, for each of the methods, there's a test. So there's going to be a test add rental, because we're testing the customer class. There's going to be a test add rental, a test get rental, a test get name, and a test statement. Okay. So, test add rental, test get rental, test get name, test statement. Okay. So let's see, for test add rental, what I did was I left the system.out thing in there, but notice I'm taking out the fail because I don't want this to fail, but I do want to test it. So the way that I'm testing, and again, in the documentation, either in the NetBeans docs or in the JUnit docs, you can find more detail on the different kinds of tests you can do. But the test I'm doing is this one, assert equals. And basically you plug in an expected result and the method that is supposed to generate that result, and assert equals make sure they match. So what I put in here was I said, okay, well, for customer 1, I'm going to get rental 0. So I added all these 5 rentals. So remember, rental, if I pull out of this collection the 0th element, that's going to be rental 1. Okay, so when I do this bit right here, customer 1 dot get rental 0, that should give me rental 1. Okay, and now on this object, this rental 1 object, I'm going to call get days rented. Okay, and my days rented for rental 1 should be 7. Okay, so that's how I know that I'm expecting a 7 here. Okay, and similarly with if I do get rental, get movie, because rental 1 was created with movie 1, then I should get back a reference to movie 1. Okay, and if I say get rental, get movie, get rental 0, get movie, get title, well, the title for so rental 1 stores a reference to movie 1. Movie 1 was constructed with the name, the movie name Alex Cross, or the movie title Alex Cross. So when I do a get title, I should get Alex Cross. Okay, and then the price code should be movie new release. Okay, so what you want to do for all of these is you're going through and testing. I'm going to skip this one right for now because yeah, I'm just going to comment this one out for now because I didn't actually. I originally created this one to so that I could do testing. So I'm gonna skip over that one for now, and then I'm just gonna so you can see what these look like. And I'm gonna put in forget name. Okay, that's going to get the different customer names. So customer 1 was Dolores, customer 2 was Christine, customer 3 was Sarah. The Harrier one to test is going to be test statement, and I'll save that one for the next video. But what I'll do is I'll comment this out just for now, so you can see how these things look when they succeed. So I'm going to run test file, and it says both tests passed. The only methods that we had that weren't commented out were add rental and get name. So both of those tests passed, meaning all these assert equals came out to be true. Okay, so in the next video we'll take a look at this more complicated one, the test statement.